Thank you so much. Grace and peace be multiplied unto you. Thank you so much for shifting. Now it looks like, yeah, okay. Thank y'all so much for shifting, and I appreciate that so that I can stay center mass. Thank you so much. Grace and peace be multiplied unto you. Thank you for those of you who are logged on to this virtual experience as well, and so we certainly appreciate all that you continue to do on our live and engaging yourself with us. Last week, we talked about Judas Iscariot and his betrayal. You remember? His betrayal of Jesus Christ. Here is how I want to start tonight. We talked about his betrayal, right? And betraying Jesus, being one of Jesus' 12 disciples, and I'll need an additional audience mic as well. Being one of Jesus' 12 disciples in that inner court, right, with Jesus. And he betrayed him. He betrayed him. And when you think about that level of betrayal and witnessing and experiencing Jesus Christ, and you think about that level of betrayal, here's a question I want to kind of start with tonight. I want us to interact for maybe about 12 or 13 minutes, right? Here's a question I want to ask. What do you think? Think about this. What do you think caused Judas to betray Jesus? We talked about some things, right? We engaged in that. What do you think? Why do you think he did that? What do you think drove that level of behavior? Somebody who was so good to him, right? Who picked him to be a part, listen to this, of his inner court, was close with him, right? But yet, he betrayed him. Why? Why do you think that betrayal took place? All right, it's a question on the floor. Who needs the mic to help us answer? Come on, who needs the mic? Who needs the mic? Just raise your hand, we'll bring it to you. Who's there? Come on, we got to stay consistent. Go ahead. No. Mm-mm. Not what drives so many people. We're talking about Judas Iscariot. That's what we studied. Remember Matthew chapter 26. What do you think drove his betrayal? Because what I don't want to do is start the conversation, right? Because a lot of times when you have, a ground, involvements like this, people start thinking if you mad at somebody today, they'll think, oh, she just said that trying to say that about me, right? Because we're talking about who? We're talking about who? All right, make it simple. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. All right. Jealous. Why do you think he was jealous of Sister Ellie? Because that's an interesting piece, right? Because here you are, Jesus, rolling with Jesus. Jesus is the focal point. And then if you historically look at the timing of this, Jesus already is aware of the fact that he's going to have to face some crucifixion, right? What do you think he was jealous of? Elaborate a little bit further for us.
Jealous of his popularity, his people being drawn to him.
Wow.
And he had an inner hate for him.
Okay, that's valid. Did y'all hear that? Those of you who are watching, I want your input too. Somebody's going to tell me. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get the other iPad. I'm going to get it right here so I'll be able to interact with you. I'm going to get the other iPad in my office. I'm going to go get it real quick. It's in my office right by my desk, and Caleb is on his way to get it now. And so it's right there on the desk, the other iPad. And so, good point. Somebody else.
Yeah,
so we talked about jealousy. Yes.
He was selfish or self-centered.
Okay. Selfish, self-centered. Y'all got that? He was selfish, self-centered is what Minister Cassette, because Sister Ellaby talks about his jealousy, right? And then Minister Cassette talks about his selfishness and being self-centered. In other words, Cassette, are you saying it was just about him? He just wanted what he wanted?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that drove him to a place of betrayal. Interact with us online as well. I got a hand up back this way. Sister Porter. Oh, go ahead, Sister Johnson. Well, we got a couple of mics. Go ahead.
I believe one of the reasons that Judas betrayed Jesus was greed.
Greed. Okay. 30 pieces of silver. Yeah, because he did talk about that, right? What am I going to get out the deal? Yeah, what am I going to get out the deal? Sister Porter? Yeah, and so Sister Porter has a mic. I'm sorry we didn't have the mic. For those of you who are watching online with us, Sister Porter, if you don't mind just repeating that so that our online audience is engaged in the conversation as well. So number one, Sister Ellaby dealt with what? Jealousy. Right? Minister Cassette dealt with selfish, self-centered. Sister Johnson dealt with greed. And then Sister Porter.
He wanted things to be his way. So when things weren't going his way, he decided to take matters into his own hands to try to make things go his way.
Interesting perspective. To force something different to transpire. Okay, all right. Or somebody online, our online audience, somebody said what? What was there? Yeah, so our online audience talks about unbelief and fear. Interesting, right? Unbelief and what? Fear. And so anybody else, come on. We're on this is good pace. This is good interaction. Again, we're asking the question. Sister Jean has one. Sister Jean needs the mic. She has one. Come on, Sister Jean. We talked about jealousy. We've talked about fear. Go ahead.
I just think Judas was being greedy.
Yeah.
You know, he just wanted everything Jesus had, he just wanted.
Yeah.
So I just think he was being greedy.
So we can connect that, right? Greed and jealousy, because sometimes, when you're envious, right, you really want what somebody else has, but you don't really know how to ask them, how you do that? Right? And for those of you, again, who are interacting with us online and those of you who are in person who arrived just a little bit tardy, we're talking about and asking the question, engage with us. We've got about 8 or 7 more minutes. Engage with us. Why do you think Judas betrayed Jesus? Like somebody who is connected to Christ in his inner court. Why did he betray Jesus? Somebody else. Anybody else? Come on, talk to me. Come on. Anybody online have anything? Why do you think Judas betrayed Jesus? Anybody else? All right. Hold on a minute. We're going to get your mic so our online audience can hear too.
The power that Jesus had.
The power, right? And again, goes back to, this wanting everything, this jealousy, and wanting this level of power that Jesus had, right? Isn't it amazing, though, as we navigate through these characteristic traits that are not good? Somebody said they're not good. We navigate through those, and we're trying to figure out, because we have to admit, right? We have to admit that I know I can admit I've been selfish before. Anybody else beside me? Come on. Let's be transparent. I've been selfish before. I've been jealous before. Right? I've been at that place where you see somebody with something, you be like, oh, wait, I want that, or you create a negative narrative around what they have. Right? Again, these characteristic traits, again, we want to have tangible things when we leave Bible class so that we are aware of certain behaviors, right? Because you need to recognize when you are being selfish. You need to recognize when you're being jealous. Because if you don't, you will hurt people who help you. You will hurt people who help you. Right? Remember, Jen, we're talking about Jesus being betrayed by Judas. Jesus. Are y'all listening to me? Jesus Christ himself being betrayed by somebody who's in his camp, who's close to him. Would you agree with me that that's hurting? Can we agree to that? That's hurting. Anybody else? Anybody else? Why did Judas betray Jesus? Anybody else? Yeah, come on. What you say?
I believe Jesus knew that already. Like, man, this is
Jesus knew, but Judas didn't.
true.
That makes sense? Jesus knew, but Judas didn't, right?
Is it possible that Judas knew what was going to happen to Jesus in the future, like the betrayal from the people in the camp? Is it possible that Judas heard the chatter of what was going to happen and he wanted to denounce
Or disconnect.
or disconnect?
Because of the early gossip.
Absolutely.
Oh, this dude getting ready to get embarrassed. He getting ready to get crucified, right? He getting ready to face punishment. I'm going to get away from him so that I'm not named amongst somebody who get ready to get crucified, even though the crucifixion is going to be for my deliverance. But I'm going to denounce him early, and I'm going to betray him so that when it happens, I can say, I wasn't with him. I'm the one who gave him up. Interesting. Here is the other piece. Because I looked at this. Think about this question, and there's something I want to show you. I'm going to show you something here in a minute. Think about this one, right? Judas betrays Jesus, right? And when he finds out, right, that he getting ready to get crucified, and he sees the horrible punishment, he goes, check this out, he goes to the chief priest and tries to get a return on it. He said, here's your money back. Here is your 30 pieces of silver. I wondered in my own sanctimonious theological mind. Here's what I've been struggling with, and I'll share with you for the purpose of transparency. Here's what I've been struggling with. I said, golly, Jesus was on his way to be crucified, right? He was getting crucified for sinners, right? Why didn't he show mercy to Judas? Think about this, right? He's on his way. I thought I had Gatorade. I don't know what this is. He on his way to, y'all heard me? Sorry. It's water. Y'all know I'm used to turquoise stuff. He's on his way. I'll take this right now to Gatorade after this fish. But if you want to go get the Gatorade now, the Lord will be kind. All right. Have him, God. But the ultimate thing is that Judas returns the 30 pieces of silver. And here's what I've been trying to research and study and really look at it, because when he returns the 30 pieces of silver, he talks to the chief priest and was like, here's the money. I don't want it. And they was like, we don't want it either. As a matter of fact, I think they buried it. They didn't want it either. They said this don't have nothing to do with us. Think about this. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this. Jesus has the power for mercy to save him. He apologizes to the people he conspired with. Think about this. Jesus has the power to give him mercy, right? When he decides to take the money back, I'm still looking. I can't find when he says to Jesus, I'm sorry. You got me? What we know about Judas is that he eventually hangs himself. He loses it mentally. He hangs himself. He commits suicide because he's mentally in trouble because he couldn't find an exodus from his behavior. Can I suggest to you this, and don't you miss this, and online audience, don't you miss this. Don't give yourself a death sentence for any mistake you make. It's revelatory, like whether you want to hear it or not. Because I think sometimes we can be so hard on ourselves that we are willing to count ourselves out because of a past mistake or error. And all of a sudden, there comes a moment in your life where God is seeking for you to just simply say, I messed up. We get new mercies when? And especially with church, because we can be notorious for hanging people because they made a mistake. There is no death sentence attached to my mistake because the death sentence was already given when Christ died. Does that make sense? Think about all the characteristics. I want to recap because I want to show you something. All right, you with me? Hang out with me. I want to recap. I want to go back to these characteristics that we talked about on why Judas betrayed Jesus. Can we recap with me? Number one, we talked about jealousy. Yes? We talked about jealousy. What else did we talk about? Come on. Selfishness and self-centeredness. You with me? What else? Unbelief, fear. Right? We talked about greed. We talked about power, force, because that power thing is dangerous. Man, listen, that power thing will separate the best of friends and the strongest of families. Do you hear me? When it comes to that power thing, it will separate the best of friends and the strongest of families. Because there's something about power that we have the tendency to be attracted to and to want. But we want power to control others, but we won't use power for deliverance. Make it make sense. When you think about all of those characteristic traits, right? I've got about 11 minutes. When you think about all of those characteristic traits, right, that we talked about, then you got to ask yourself, right, we got to dig deeper. Somebody said, let's dig deeper. You got to ask yourself, well, what makes me jealous? What makes me have greed? What makes me desire power to the point where I will betray people that I need? What would make me do such? All right, come on, let's talk about it. You got a mic? Sister Ellaby need the mic. She already hollering, I know. Come on, Ned, like, I know. What you got, Sister Ellaby? Thank you. Ignorance. Then the question becomes, thanks, Sister Fisher. Sister Fisher, I love you. Because I ain't trying to, I'm trying to be friends. All right. Ignorance, right? Ignorance can drive what? What do you think ignorance drives? Sure, I agree with that. You're not very kind in your word choice, but I agree. That's just mean. Hey, trying to help the folk. You don't call the folks stupid and girl. Y'all pray for Sister Ellaby online, because they laughing in here, they ain't praying. But she makes a point though, because when you think about and while it's not delicate, right? I get it, right? That's a valid point, right? That's a valid point, right? That's a valid point.
He was with the person who told him all power,
Isn't that amazing? Sister Ellaby, you listen what you just did. You just circled right around. You just circled right around close enough to my answer, and I'll show you in just a second. Real close, because you talked about who he was with, right? Who Judas was with. He was with who? He was with Jesus. A person performing miracles, a person who can save, a person who can feed 5,000, right? He was with Jesus. Jeff, if you give me a long answer, I'm going to say stop. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Ignorance would make you desire something that you don't really want.
Sure. That you don't know. That's the shortest I've ever heard you. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. We have fun at our church. You don't get mad because we're here having fun. Come on, y'all give Jeff a hand. Give him a hand. Yeah. But it'll have you to that place, right, where you think you want something, but you don't know what comes with that. All right? Now, here it is, because I've got 8 minutes to tell you this. I got 8 minutes to tell you this. Check this out. Greed, jealousy, wanting something, not knowing even what it is, right? The person Judas was hanging with, what was his name? Jesus. If somebody is going to betray Jesus, his influence has to come from somebody who is the direct opposite of Jesus. You with me? If I am going to betray Jesus, it's going to be because I have become influenced by somebody who's the direct opposite of who? Put Bible on it, Lakeivia Centrell Johnson. Luke chapter 22. Luke chapter 22. Watch this. Watch this. You gave all these characteristics, and when you do them, I want you to know where they come from. Luke chapter 22, verse number 3. I need somebody with a mic to read it so they don't say Pastor Johnson wrote that in the Bible and made that up. Luke chapter 22, verse number 3. Somebody raise your hand, we'll get you a mic. Okay. All right, so Kim Butler says she got it. Kim, you got King James Bible or? Just something in my spirit said that your Bible was finna be something. What is it, Kim? Okay, all right, okay. Read, okay, all right. All right, read Luke chapter 22, verse number 3. Stop. Stop. Who entered into Judas? The opposite of who? Who entered? Anytime you operate in the characteristics that you just shared with me, guess who you hanging out with? Teach Lakeivia Johnson, I'm doing the best I can with what I got. Every time that spirit of jealousy overtakes you, you open yourself up to the opposite of who Jesus Christ is. Every time greed intercepts your life, you open yourself up to the direct spirit that operates with the adversary. You got to ask yourself, who am I hanging with? Am I open to Jesus or am I open to? I didn't write the Bible, but boy, can I preach it. Are you listening to me? Because sometimes we need to know, why am I operating at this level? It is possible because you've ignored the principles of Jesus Christ and you become open to something else. And anytime you're open to anything else other than Jesus Christ, Satan takes a foothold and says, I got you now. So much to the point, don't you dare miss this, so much to the point when he has a hold of you, you won't even go say you sorry when you know you're wrong. Somebody holler, that's scary. He knew he was wrong, but he couldn't say sorry because the Bible says then entered Satan into Judas. He never got him out, so he could never solve the problem. And we're so busy dealing with the surface that we don't really get to the root of the matter. And if you don't cut the root, stuff will keep growing. Next time you find yourself in a mode of jealousy, check yourself. Next time you find yourself in a mode of selfishness, check yourself. You call these things out, not Johnson. Next time you in that power struggle, it's just about power. Or you being envious, you want something that somebody else has, and you don't know how to ask them how they got it. Check yourself. The next time you betray somebody that you really need, do me a favor, check yourself. Ask yourself the question, why am I operating in this behavior? And then go to Luke chapter 22, verse number 3. And ask yourself, am I open? It's the challenge for us, Mount Calvary. If we're going to make an impact, we got to know the root of our issues so that we can solve our issues. And I think the struggle we have in church is that we don't like to talk about the true issue. We talk about the surface of the issue. And people can't get help because we won't deal with the root of the issue. And the root of the issue is not the people around you, it's who you are. Where you're struggling, telling the truth about where you are, just being honest. You know what? That made me mad. And when I got mad, I did this. I realize now that I shouldn't have got mad, and I dissected it, and guess what? I apologize because I behaved that way. What? You know how much peaceful and church and life and the impact that we can make on a community when we take that approach? I got it wrong. I messed up. I should have said that. Should have did you like that. Will you forgive me? What? We're walking then in the impact that Christ is able to make. There's nothing on record. This is Johnson's opinion. This is my theological conclusion. But I believe if Judas had came to Jesus, there's nothing that suggests to me, and I know purpose is aligned with this, and Judas had to betray him. I know that. But I think it shifts if Judas comes to say, I am messed up because I got something messed up on the inside of me. I didn't make you betray me. It was who influenced you that made you do it. You can always tell a person's influence based upon how they treat you. What's your influence? Who's influencing you? Here's a challenge and a takeaway tonight is we got to be practical. Number one, take a daily reflection of where you are and the level of influence that people around you are having. Take a daily reflection. The next time you do something and it's questionable, ask yourself, now what made me do that, or what made me say that? It's practical. When you interact with others in our ministry and in our church, ask yourself that question. Why did I just say that to him? Why I say that to her? Was that right? Right? Because I need God to move on our behalf. I believe he does it when we operate at a place of compassion, concern, truth, and then we operate at a place of self-improvement. Are you with me? I'm out of time. I love you. Give God some praise in this place. I love y'all. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you for those online who are hanging out with us. Sister Johnson is coming with our announcements. We'll see you Sunday morning for worship.
Word on tonight. Wow, we certainly appreciate you for pouring in to us week in and week out. And it is our prayer that God restore everything that you have poured out on tonight. If you have a child, kindergarten through 8th grade, or a middle school or high school teen that you would like to register for our Lifeline Summer Camp, please see Sister Jeanette Ellaby immediately following any of our worship services. To order Pastor Johnson's first book project, Looking Within, please go to lakebcjohnson.com, amazon.com, kobo.com, Barnes & Noble, or you can see me immediately following any worship service. These are our announcements. Please govern yourselves accordingly, and we will see you on Sunday. God bless you.